Welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm giving you the new patch 7.38. I have gone over all of it on my stream over the course of a few hours, but this is to talk about my 15 to 20 minute-ish summary of what I think the biggest changes are, the heroes I look forward to playing, and to just let you guys know that I will be releasing, fresh content as I will be watching Dream League, keeping an eye out on what the current meta is, be releasing a meta update in the next few days. Follow the channel just to make sure you get that. But let's go ahead and jump into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the patch notes. Bear in mind with me, guys, that this patch is massive. So feel free to check it out yourself within the client under updates. But I'm gonna be talking about some of my favorite changes and just be highlighting things I'm gonna be keeping an eye out for. So in terms of the major mechanics, their units no longer gain movement speed during the night, but now there are things there are rivers on the map, you can see down here, that give you bonus movement speed if you're going the same direction as the current. So effectively, like, away from your base. So, like, if we teleport here, you can see that, like, my move speed drastically increases. I will go from 363 to 513, so it's 150 movement speed as you're walking down the river. And this is even, like, a low ground. And they've drastically changed where these neutral camps are, adding some river camps that have some cool new creeps. One of the major map changes is that the creeps near your safe lane are now ancient camps. So there's no more of this, like, 5-minute retreat through your jungle to, like, these safe, really easy camps to farm for a lot of carries. So maybe some ancient stacking in the safe lane will be more prevalent for heroes like Sven that can take it super early, but more on that later. One of my other favorite changes is that items, when they are delivered to you, no longer have this, like, move it from your backpack to your inventory. So if you accidentally do what I did, where you delivered your BKB into the wrong slot during a team fight from your courier, that you're now screwed. Instead, you have a grace period to move it to your inventory and use it as normal. Love these quality of life changes. There are a lot of them in this patch. The next major change is that Roshan is moved back to the river. He has this little cubby down here on the Radiant side and this one on the Dire side. He has the same rules as before, but rather than being in the corners of the map, we're back towards the middle of the map. I personally favor this a lot more. For me, is more interesting. On the other flip side of mirroring mechanics during the day and nighttime, Tormentor has been moved to this location and this location, but only one Tormentor at a time, and it mirrors Roshan. So if Roshan's in the bottom lane, bottom half of the map, then Tormentor's up here, and it will spawn at 15 minutes, and it will respawn 10 minutes after you kill it. And since there's only one Tormentor, but it also gives more of a gold bounty to the team that kills it, I expect to be seeing a lot of fights around the Tormentor at 15 minutes. Next up is that the Lotus pools have been changed to this Lotus Shrine, and the Wisdom runes have been changed to a Wisdom Shrine. The way it works is that at 7 minutes, the shrine will turn on, and rather than clicking up a rune, or picking up a rune like before, and just trying to spam click and win the battle, you have to stand in range of the shrine for 3 seconds, and if there's an enemy hero in it, then neither of you is capturing it. So you effectively have to bully people out of it, and it's gonna result in more brawls, rather than this, like, click battle that kind of was, in my opinion, boring. At first glance, these seem way more interesting. Lotus Pool's working the same way. It's like territory, area domination. You can even see here, we'll just show you real quick. This is what it looks like. It'll give you that little indicator. And if there's an enemy hero in there, then you have to duke it out. So it's definitely going to favor certain heroes that are more territorial, like Clockwork, for instance. But either way, more fights, less click battles. I'm a fan. So some of my other favorite mechanic changes are the fact that there are no more bottle refills. You have to actually be in fountain to refill your bottle, so no more supports like shifting the tides of mid lane. I feel like that adds a lot of skill degree to the mid lane, which has been severely lacking over the recent past. Lots of item changes. They've effectively made 3 different orbs where they've really compartmentalized which one does what. Minus armor, attack slow, damage over time, and then put them into respective items, Witchblade, Scotty, and still part of Deso. Some of the biggest item changes include the fact that Abyssal Blade and Halberd have been swapped, where Abyssal Blade has Sange instead of Vanguard, and Halberd has Vanguard instead of Sange. I personally believe that Heaven's Halberd will be the most broken item in the new patch because of the fact that offlaners love building Vanguard, and now you just have a convenient upgrade to an item for 900 gold, giving you some extra regen and stats. The disarm is now 25 mana instead of 75. Granted, it can be dispelled, but the item itself is a Vanguard plus stats. Like, you're super happy about that, and early game, most heroes don't have dispels. So I feel like just Heaven's Halberd is going to be the ultra rushed item for most offlaners in the game right now. I feel like there's virtually nothing carries can do about it, and it actually feels really bad to play carry because of this. I may be wrong, but if I were you, I'd be trying to rush Halberd on every single offlaner that bought Vanguard in the past. So I think the heroes that buy Vanguard that did not get severely nerfed. So I'm thinking Axe, Centaur, Doom, Underlord perhaps, will be very good with this. Some of the more significant reworks is that Gleipnir is no longer a Maelstrom-based item. It's just an upgraded Athos, so it's more of a spellcaster item. Conda has been completely reworked from being bonus damage and crit on your active to being a upgraded version of Phylactery that also breaks for 3 seconds. So the biggest thing about this is that heroes like Tiny, Morph, Luna that were predominantly using Conda, that's just a thing of the past. That's completely gone. What I like about it, even if the item actually seems really bad to me at first, is that they're attempting to have an attack-based break in Silver Edge and then a spell-based break in Conda. I'm personally a big fan of that they're like giving you multiple different options for different types of heroes. But we'll just have to see exactly how that plays out. For now, I think the item's pretty bad, but I like where they're going with it. The next section that I absolutely love, but there's one thing I hate about it, and I'll get to it later, is the neutral item changes. You now effectively at 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes, 35 minutes, but instead of having like a selection of 5 items that are already made for you, they now have 2 separate components. One that gives you like the crucial passive or active ability, and one that gives you bonus stats, like attack damage, all stats, stuff like this. And so they're separated. You have to kill neutral camps to get these Madstones. To build them, you have to fill your Madstone gauge in order to get one. So you can see that it takes 5 Madstones, 15, 25. The way that Madstones work is you get 2 for killing a camp entirely, and you give 1 to a random teammate when you kill a camp. And if your Madstone gauge is filled, when you kill a camp, it goes to the rest of your team, all 3 of them. So cores will almost certainly get their Madstones first, as it should be. No, I'm kidding. But then, you know, if you continue to kill camps, your team will have no problem getting them. So you only get effectively 3 choices. At tier 1, you'll get 4 choices of each item you're getting. There are like a bajillion items, guys. So just, you're gonna have to kind of check them out for yourself. But the idea is that you get to kind of personalize, like, I want my active to be mana restore, and I want my passive to be damage. You know, so you have a little bit more customizability. My issue is that after level 1, you only have 3 choices, which I didn't know when I initially read it because I was stoked, which means that there is a ton of RNG within the neutral items. I personally didn't mind when there was RNG, when you are set like this is the item you get, but now I feel like the variance is much higher to whether or not you get exactly what you wanted in the neutral item. And yeah, I don't know, it's like an RPG where you have access to only 3 out of like 8 options. For me, that feels really bad. I think it's much easier to balance the game around knowing Drow Ranger and all other ranged heroes will get X amount of bonus range at tier 2 if they choose it. But instead now you have like a 3 out of 8 chance to get the bonus range. And then you can also get a bonus passive on top of that might have been better than Growth Bow, for instance. For me, this just feels really RNG, and I don't like that at all. I think this would have been so perfect if they just gave you the ability to customize, balance the items, and balance the heroes around the fact that they can choose the item they're gonna get. So you're presumed to have the one that's best for you based on balancing. And then there's heroes that will just want certain ones, like ranged heroes that attack will almost always want the attack range one, while there's other heroes that are more situational. And it's just like the way you build items in Dota. Anti-Mage goes Battle Fury Manta every single game, while heroes like Slark might go Echo Saber or Diffusal or Mage Slayer. Like, they have versatility. So for me, I'm just gonna give my brief rant, or I gave my brief rant that I think the RNG of the neutral items is a huge mistake based on the fact that they made them customizable, and I really hope they change that. But the idea of them being customizable, I think, is much more interesting, and I really like what they did. But that's just my take, and you guys are welcome to disagree with me. Feel free to let me know in the comments that I won't read if you disagree with me because I don't like you anymore. Kidding. Okay, not kidding. So neutral creep changes. These are things I highlighted. They're just a bunch of new fish-based ones that also upgrade over time. The Ancient Prowler camp is back to all of our we're just so happy about this, guys, to all of our gleeful joy here. But then we get to the hero changes. There's a bajillion of them. Pretty much every hero in the game got something. So I'm just gonna talk about the major things that I saw. So overall, they reverted a lot of universal heroes to be their primary stat that they were before. So if you look at like the hero balance now, there's only like 23 universal heroes compared to, you know, there being 34 agility and 35 strength. So there's significantly less universal heroes. So some heroes actually got turned into universal heroes. We have Arc Warden, Death Prophet, Nature's Prophet, and Spectre. But more heroes were changed back into their primary stat than being turned into universal heroes. And universal heroes only get 0.45 damage per stat rather than 0.7 damage per stat. But all of them, to some degree, got stat bonuses on their stat gains. So they have more int, they have more strength, but they're getting way less damage across the board, especially when you're building items, of course. So I feel like their goal from universal heroes was to make them less homogenized about building right-click damage and more like actual utility heroes. I think it specifically guts all of the heavily right-click based damage universal heroes. I'm thinking like Marcy, Pango, Wind Ranger, Void Spirit. I'm not really sure about Spectre and Arc Warden, for instance. But the idea is if you were universal before and you were purely right-click based, I don't think any of them got enough to capitalize or compensate on what they lost, but that's TBD. So let's go ahead and get us some specific hero changes that I like. Either I'm excited to try them or I just really like what they've done in theory. So for Alchemist, for instance, your corrosive weaponry is applied by acid spray as well as unstable concoction, and I just think that's a cool thing to make synergy between spells. I'm not sure how good he is, and they also gave him a new facet that's like about dividends and being a support alch that feeds acceptors. I don't think it's viable, but I like that they're giving you a lot more options and the hero's kit seems more interesting all around. Another hero that got significantly changed is Arc Warden. They got rid of like this dire / radiant shit and your Tempest being different than you. They made him a universal hero and they made him all about the runes with his facets. So one of them gives your Tempest double runes based on what level it is, and the other one gives Arc Warden attributes based on picking up power runes, and you can create a magnetic field that pulls the power rune towards it, and then when it goes into the magnetic field, it gives you all stats. So there's cool potential here. My gut feeling is that it's not very good, but I think giving a hero a unique identity rather than making him really confusing, it discourages the polarity of the hero. Like, I feel like what they previously did with Arc Warden made it so that if you were an Arc Warden specialist, you were more of an Arc Warden specialist, but nobody that had never played Arc Warden before was like, now that he's more complicated, let's play him. But I do feel like now I'm almost encouraged to be like, oh, there's like a rune-based, attribute-based hero. That's kind of cool. I'm going to try him out now. So I like what they're doing here. I like making heroes that are generally more complex, more accessible by making them interesting and not more complex. So I think for me, you know, Arc Warden's still a complex hero, but I want to try him out, but he might be bad right now. The win rates seem to be indicating that. My next favorite change is Axe. Not favorite as in I think his change is amazing, but what they did was they made his counter helix slightly better level 1, and then they buffed his battle hunger, and then they buffed the shit out of Halberd for this hero. So I'm thinking rather than being this blade mail blink guy that bursts people, maybe you could be a Halberd plus battle hunger spammer, which it's like, you can't go on me because I have Halberd. So I can be more of a poke damage guy, perhaps like battle hunger, phylactery, stuff like this, you know? So Halberd into phylactery. I want to try this new idea of Axe. They buffed his laning stage a little bit by doing so. You know, I feel like there's just avenues of like Kaya Sanj or Kaya Yasha, and I'm just excited to try it. So keep in mind, that's going to be a build you see me trying out, as it seems really interesting. A hero I'm going to keep an eye out on, I'm not really going to try, is the Fundamental Forging for Chaos Knight, who gets extra choices of the next tier of neutral items. I am curious how exploitable this is, if like based on the power levels of neutral items, which it's hard to say just looking at them. So definitely want to try this out at some point, but I'm more so going to watch if other people are making use of it for now. Looking at mid Crystal Maiden with this new facet that makes her spells cost a shit ton, but give her 35% spell amp. Really interested in trying this. Is it good? I'm not sure. Is 35% spell amp a lot? Yes. Death Prophet is another hero I want to try. She's always been kind of a jack of all trades, build whatever item makes sense for the game. I had originally my patch note wish list said for Necrophos to be moved to Universal for the same reason, but they made Death Prophet instead. So giving a hero that was previously kind of pigeonholed to int items to do any sort of damage, giving her the ability to like build whatever items and it's still impactful. Definitely want to be trying myself some Death Prophet. And they also made her cooldown reduction higher with her innate. So I'm definitely going to be trying some Death Prophet because I feel like being able to build whatever item on a hero always is fun. Keep in mind, Dragon Knight's win rate has gone up 9%. Since the patch came out. I'm just going to kind of let you guys pause the frame if you want to see it here. They made his cleave innate on his ult. So now all of his facets just offer different things. The frost facet's the same. The fire facet's all about AoE based stuff. And the corrosive facet is now the minus armor, but everything is physical damage. So his win rate's apparently insanely high. I will be trying him out for funsies probably, but I also think he'll probably get nerfed in the next few days because he got so significantly reworked. But right now, if you want to spam some Dragon Knight to gain some MMR, I don't blame you. I think it's hovering around 57%. I personally think this one looks the coolest, but this one looks the best. The next hero I'm 100% going to try. It's been a while since we've seen the BSJ Huskar, but this new facet for Huskar, some of my viewers were saying they think it looks really bad, but you can activate your Berserker's Blood. It applies a basic Dispel to you, and it's on a 50, 40, 30 second, 20 second cooldown. It takes 30% of your current health, but at the end, it restores that health, which you don't mind losing current health on Huskar. Sometimes you want to lower your health. And additionally heals an extra 5% of his match HP for each dispelled debuff. That's 3 seconds, by the way. It's not that long. Spirit Vessel counters Huskar, slows. Can you guys imagine how many abilities in Dota are countered by basic dispels in the early game especially? How many lane matchups this significantly shifts? I think it's insane. I think it is insane to give a hero a basic dispel, especially a hero that's countered by Spirit Vessel that previously did not have a basic dispel. Yes, your ult gave you a dispel, but now you have the option to actually just run away, and you have it level 1 rather than waiting till level 6. So I think this is broken, for the record, and I'm going to be trying it, but, maybe I'll eat my words. My next hero that I really want to try is Jakiro. They gave him both of his abilities by default, but they share a cooldown similar to old Morphling. But they gave him a core Jakiro, which makes his attacks do way more damage as the game goes on, and they gave him support Jakiro, which allows you to detonate Ice Path at the end of it for an extra stun and extra damage. Overall, hero seems really fun. I want to try him, especially core, because it's always fun to turn supports into cores, and it seems way more viable now. And I just think what they did to the hero feels really nice, where it's like, rather than having to choose between 2 abilities at the beginning of the game, you get both of them, and you get to choose which one you want at each moment when you use it. That's cool. Next up is Leshrac. I know that they removed the AoE from Bloodstone. You may not have known that because you didn't read the patch and you're listening just to me, but even though they did that, I feel like a lot of Leshes were not buying Bloodstone, and now they just pretty much doubled the impact of your innate. So I am 100% trying Lesh. The girth on this pony is off the charts, people. So what they did to Magnus was they actually removed the 2 facets, and they made it so that when you use your ultimate, it is 50% chance to be reverse polarity and 50% chance to be reverse polarity. I am kidding, as they have removed reverse polarity. I know it was very good. I hope I got some of you because you hadn't read the patch notes yet. And they've just given him reverse polarity, but I really like what they gave is that they gave him his old shard as one of his facets as a 5th point in Shockwave, and they gave him Empower permanently on his own hero as his other one. So caster facet, right-click facet. I like when that's the type of facet you get. On any hero, playstyle-wise. Seems like this one is the intuitively stronger one because of the nerf to damage on universal heroes, but I'm gonna want to try this one as well. They both seem really fun, is basically what I'm trying to say. At level 9, you have a huge power spike now. They did this for a lot of heroes, where they gave them like a 5th point that you can get at level 9. I just want to see, I think these heroes that got given like a shard for free effectively, all it's 1 skill point, seems really broken in theory. So Medusa has this new facet that gives her 45 or 35 extra movement speed, about what boots give you, but her movement speed is only affected by her ultimate buffing her and the rivers. So you no longer would buy boots probably, and you would no longer consider probably buying Yasha Manta. You might still yasha Yasha Manta just because it's so good to have the illusions. But I was thinking that this could be absolutely insane if you're in any game against slows. It would make your laning stage like insanely powerful. I think it might be more of a response, meaning like you pick Medusa and then last pick Veno against you in lane, or Viper, and you'd be more responding. I don't know if you would necessarily pick the hero because you're against slows and you think this is OP. But it makes the hero more versatile, and they gave her old 25 talent with an Axe. Is that good? Like, would you rather just get it from a talent later in the game or have it earlier with an Axe? I'm not really sure. but Medusa seems fascinating to me at the very least. I like unique mechanics like this. The next hero I want to try is Necrophos, whose Rapid Decay now also makes enemies who have their Restoration Amplification decreased by the same value as Necrophos gains. So you're reducing their healing amp and you're gaining your own. It could be really good against heroes that focus on their regen. So definitely want to be trying him out in the right games. Necrophos always been one of my favorite heroes. And this facet, you go race car, you know? It's always been fun. It just was seemingly worse than the other facet most of the time. Night Stalker, with the new facet, similar to Mag, got a 5th point in Void and makes it AoE and 400 damage. So it's not quite as good as your old Ags, especially because it only does it at nighttime. But giving this hero the ability to farm and clear waves with no investment whatsoever, is it worth the trade-off? I'm not sure, but in theory, seems really strong, and I want to try it out. So I'm going to be looking into this because I love heroes that can clear waves, and the only thing I've really ever hated about Night Stalker is that inability for him to do so. They removed a lot of creep-based damage abilities, like Chaos Strike on Chaos Knight, Bash on Spear Breaker, Battery Assault on Clockwork, and they also removed Nyx's ability to one-shot creeps with his W. So I feel like they're trying to kind of unhomogenize the ability of all heroes to kill creeps, and I personally think it guts Nyx, but overall, I don't mind that they're doing that. I feel like a lot of people were complaining that they just gave every hero the ability to farm, and heroes that previously couldn't farm and were balanced around the fact that they couldn't farm, like Nyx, were very broken, so I don't mind balance change-wise that they did that. I'd like to rip in pepperonis for PA. Feel free to read these patch notes yourself. I feel like the new facet's pretty bad. They nerfed the old facet. They nerfed her innate. Overall, it feels like PA had her like 3 weeks in the spotlight, and she's completely gone now. PL was given a new interesting facet. I'm skeptical. There's apparently a bug or unintended change with Revenant's Brooch that makes PL really broken. You can check it out yourself. Overall, though, I don't really abuse bugs, so I'm not a fan. Pudge has an interesting carry facet that I definitely want to try. While Rot is active, so you just need some sort of sustain. I'm not really sure how I want to get it just yet, but I do want to try this. You get effectively 80% max damage if you can leave Rot on. Definitely want to try that out. And they removed his ability to save, so now people who are playing Pudge support can no longer make the excuse that they were trying to save you and they just wanted to ruin your game. Quap has a new facet that makes it so her spell Lifesteal also works on reflected damage. I want to try some Blade Mail Kaya Sanj build. That seems really cool. Kind of like that old Quap back in the day that used to get spell Lifesteal and it worked on Blade Mail. I think there's something to be had here. Perhaps a mid to late game Lotus Orb as well, but seems kind of gimmicky. The Blade Mail into Kaya Sanj into normal items seems more realistic. I'm going to be looking into theory crafting some builds for Spectre because the fact that she's a universal hero now, and also the fact that she has her reworked facet that makes it so her illusions no longer deal desolate, but she does a gajillion desolate damage. So I'm thinking there must be some like Diffusal-esque build that you can go on Spectre, like Diffusal Echo Saber kind of thing that's all about your main hero. Is it trash? Probably. Is it cool to think about and potentially broken? Yes, so that's what I'm going to be doing. The new Bulls hit facet on Spearbreaker, very interesting. You charge through 2 heroes, you effectively have double chance to bash. Every time you bash over the course of the next 10 seconds, you're getting more bash chance. Core Spearbreaker with attack speed, perhaps. But they did make it so he can't, bash for extra damage anymore. That was removed a while back, so his ability to farm seems lackluster. But, 17% was already annoying, and now you can theoretically get up to like 60, 70, 80% if you're attacking fast enough and charging through people, because that does count when you charge through them. Seems fun, at the very least if you're playing and not for the people around you. Last but not least, I'm looking into trying Tiny Carry, because he sucks really bad as a nuker now with the Conda nerf, and they also nerfed his Crash Landing facets. But they buffed his spells in terms of their he removed their synergy, but the individual spells are just better, especially for the laning phase. You can just level Avalanche and it's doing 400 damage at max level. So I'm thinking there's probably some way to build Tiny now as a carry that's more reliable while not feeling too much of the negative impact of the fact that Conda has been gutted. Definitely want to be trying that as well. So yeah, that does conclude the patch note review for now. These are just my initial impressions. We looked a bit at the map. We looked a bit at all the hero changes. The neutral item changes we're super excited about, or at least I'm excited about. Maybe the RNG factor gets removed. That would be great. But I will be releasing probably 2 videos a week in the near future, just kind of keeping you guys up to date with what I'm seeing in pro matches, what I'm seeing in the pubs, and maybe some broken heroes here and there that we can try out. Stay tuned, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.